Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. In today's video, we're going to show you how white light is created actually by all the colors of the rainbow. We thought about this because the other day my daughter and I were driving down the street when she looked outside and noticed there was a rainbow.
And it hadn't even been raining.
Which caused her to ask an interesting question.
Where does a rainbow come from?
And when I said it comes from the sunlight, she seemed a little bit confused.
If the sun's light is white, where do the colors come from?
And that's a great science question. So now it was time to do some research. So I went on to Amazon and bought a prism, because we've all seen those really cool photos where the white light goes in and it refracts to form a rainbow. Unfortunately, it didn't really have the dramatic effect I was hoping for in real life for us. I mean, yeah, you could see the colors, but it was real tiny and not very impressive. Then again, I could have just been doing it wrong, but
We were hoping for a little bit more.
so after spending some time on the internet, I figured out a better way to do this. A much more fun way to illustrate the concept.
All you're going to need are some crayons and a slinky.
So stick around, because in this video we're going to show you how all the colors of the rainbow combine to make white.
Hey, were you filming that while you were driving?
This is a classic homeschool demonstration that checks all the boxes. It's easy, it's fun because they get to sit down and make something, and it's super cheap because if you have kids and you homeschool, you've got plenty of crayons, plenty of tape, and plenty of stick glue to go around. And more importantly, it explains in a pretty fun way a complex science topic that they can understand. Full disclosure, this is not my idea. In fact, it was the idea of somebody a lot smarter than your average bear, Sir Isaac Newton. We've talked about Sir Isaac Newton before on this channel. In fact, it was the very first video we ever started filming at the beginning of this year. That was our very first video, and if you thought this one is rough around the edges. You see, light travels through space in waves, much like you and I travel down the road in cars. And there's big cars and little cars that all look different on the highway. There are different wavelengths, big wavelengths and small wavelengths that cause light to look different as well. And that always leads to the question from your kids.
What's a wavelength?
And this is why we need the slinky. First, you're going to take your slinky and just tie one end of it around the tree. Then all you have to do is stretch it out. Using the slinky, you can actually demonstrate to them what a wavelength actually looks like. It takes a little practice, but after a while, it gets pretty easy. And it's real easy to demonstrate that the faster you move the slinky, the more waves you create and the higher the energy the wavelength will have. You can keep this as simple or as advanced as you like. If you have young learners, you can just keep this as them seeing the wavelength. If you have advanced learners, you can talk about the characteristics of a wavelength, from the amplitude, the frequency, the crest, the troughs. The possibilities are endless. By the end of it though, usually the kids just like taking turns to see who can create the wave with the most energy. The slow motion really gives you a neat perspective on the behavior of waves, and that's exactly how light travels through space. Okay, now let's talk about how to make Newton's disk. You're going to want to start with a white piece of paper, and using anything round. For example, I used a roll of duct tape, but you can also use a bowl or a CD, because how are you really else using your CDs these days? What you're going to want to do is draw a circle, and then once that's done, divide your circle into 6 equal parts. And now it's time to color. Each piece of the pie gets a different color of the rainbow. I use markers because it would show up better on camera, but the actual effect was better demonstrated using crayons. Once you're done coloring, now it's just time to cut your circle out, and then get a piece of cardboard and make the same size circle. Then you're just going to glue your circle on top of the cardboard. The next step is just poking 2 small holes near the center of your circle, offset just a little bit. That's where you're going to thread some string through. All you need is about 36 inches of string. Thread one end through one hole and the other end through the other hole, and tie a knot at the end. And that is your Newton's disk. And it takes a little bit of practice, but after a while, when you get the hang of rotating it over and over and doing the push and pull mechanism, you can see that the faster the colors rotate around themselves, the more they just want to blend into white. Isaac Newton used prisms to prove that white light is composed of the colors of the rainbow. And to prove his theory in a different way, he used a disk similar to this to show that if you were able to mix the colors back together, the resulting color is white, or essentially a reverse rainbow. So that's it for this week's lesson. We hope you enjoyed it. If you're new to the channel, consider subscribing and telling your friends. We appreciate the support. I hope you have a great day, and we'll see you next week.